Good morning, Nash and NAI. This morning, I have the privilege of introducing to you Mr. Brandon Rainey. Mr. Rainey works with Sandy Hook Promise, whose mission is to prevent gun-related deaths due to crime, suicide, and accidental discharge so that no other parent experiences the senseless, horrific loss of their child. Sandy Hook Promise has recently partnered with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Office of the Attorney General to launch a new statewide reporting tool to help with the safety of students. This program is called Safe2Say something. The safety and well-being of our students and staff members is paramount. This training and new program will provide an additional proactive initiative for responsible reporting of issues related to the safety of our buildings. I would like to reinforce the other existing options for responsible reporting. In the event of a real-time, life-threatening emergency, all individuals should contact 911. Calling 911 for true emergencies allows first responders to provide assistance as fast as possible. We strongly encourage students to share any safety concerns with a trusted adult. This can be a teacher, a counselor, a paraprofessional, a member of our office staff, security personnel, custodial team, lunch aides, principals, or school resource officers. It also includes your parents or a member of our community. Direct reporting to a trusted adult is an essential practice to promote a safe learning environment. This information allows school officials to begin investigating immediately and address the concern appropriately. Furthermore, we have a tip line that allows students to anonymously report safety concerns to law enforcement. This phone number is 724-933-TIPS. Working together, we are confident we can continue to create a safe environment for all members of our building. At this time, please join me in welcoming Mr. Rainey to North Allegheny.
Good morning, good morning. First of all, just want to say just an honor and a pleasure to be here. My name is Brandon Rainey. I am from Los Angeles, California, and I work for Sandy Hook Promise, as stated. My role there is the National Senior Trainer, and I get the opportunity to just travel each week and to share this amazing message. Sandy Hook Promise was birthed out of a tragedy. That tragedy in the form of taking the lives of 20 elementary students and 6 adults. A couple of the parents got together and they said enough is enough. And they created an organization with students in mind, knowing that if we could train and encourage and empower students to really be those upstanders, we would be able to make change and impact. So once again, Brandon Rainey, Sandy Hook Promise. And before we really just dive into what the Safe2Say something anonymous reporting system looks like in just this presentation, I really want to set the scene. When I was younger, there was a camp that I used to go to with my cousin. And one of the interesting parts about this camp is that they had this huge swimming pool. Inside the swimming pool, there was a water slide, there was a basketball court, a volleyball net, a lot of really cool things. Now, the problem with the situation is that I'm not a swimmer. So here I am in the shallow end. I didn't pass the test, I didn't get the wristband. So I had to literally be over in the area with the rest of the non-swimmers. They tried to give me like this little floaty device, but I felt like I was too cool for that. So my thing was I was going to swim walk. And as long as I could feel the bottom of the pool, I felt safe, I felt secure, I felt at ease. On this particular day, for whatever reason, I started to drift. And I started to drift, and I get to the point where now I can't feel the bottom of the pool. Now I'm in panic mode. Now I am tripping. Now this is this moment of literally I am screaming for help. Now, there was 2 problems with this situation. While I am panicking, while I am screaming for help, while I am drowning, 2 situations. The first one is that everyone on this side was jumping in and out of the water. They were on the water slide, playing basketball, having a really good time. On this side had the little floaty devices or swim walking like I was. The other problem is that there was no lifeguard on duty. So here I am. and I'm screaming for help. I had a cousin, as stated before, and he was a really interesting guy. He was the type where he came with his fresh clothes on. He wanted to look really cool or swaggy, if I could say. And so here he is. He has on his fresh Jordans. He has a watch on his wrist, and he has, I like to say, BC. This is before cell phones. So he has a pager on his waist. But he sees me, and he makes a very inconveniencing, very sacrificing decision to jump in the water and save me. Now he's hot though. His watch stopped, his fresh Jordans messed up, his pager stopped. But at the end of the day, I feel like he made the right decision and saving my life. What's the point of this story? This is the reality. I would suggest that in every state, in every city, in every county, and every district, there are students who find themselves in situations where what was safe, what was secure, what felt grounded, shifts happen along the journey. And they find themselves in situations where what felt safe and what felt cool, those shifts have caused the waters of life and pressure, insecurities and bullying and all other types of situations to become so overwhelming that they're screaming for help, maybe not audibly screaming, but silently screaming, wondering, hey, is there anyone who sees me? Is there anyone who hears me? Or is there anyone who even cares? Some students have found themselves walking the hallways and feeling invisible. There are some students who found different outlets, whether that is TV production, whether that is drama, whether that is sports, whatever that passion is, that they've been able to use that as an outlet. Some have found friends and family and teachers to be able to talk to. But then there are some students who have turned to hurting themselves or hurting others. So my goal in this time that I have with you is to encourage, to inspire, to literally to beg and to plead each and every one of you to consider to be a lifeguard on duty, because there are students who need you like never before. So as you watch, there's going to be a couple of moments that I do ask you to do those moments of repeating after me just to be able to just lock it in. So as you watch this, if you could just simply say, if not me, and really do it. I know you're watching, but really say it out loud if you don't mind. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? Tell me how I can be a lifeguard on duty. Well, hopefully everyone said that and repeated after me. So I would have to say that I feel really cool this morning because you asked me to do it, so I'm going to literally do that. I'm going to tell you just a couple of things that I believe and that we believe with the Safe2Say Something program, how you can be a lifeguard on duty. But before we jump into that, I want to just show a quick video to further paint this picture and really point this. Let's go with the video.
Callers indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building.
Frightening headlines across America. 2 high school shootings in one day.
A high school sophomore being attacked by a junior cheerleader.
County 911. Oh my God, my friend has been shot. Okay, what was he shot with? A shotgun. How old is he? He's 16.
funeral is being held this morning in Florida for Rebecca Sedgwick. The sixth grader committed suicide last week. Authorities say she suffered nearly a year of cyberbullying.
They say he attacked another 14-year-old on Thursday as he was walking home from school.
A high school football favorite opens fire in a cafeteria, killing one and injuring others.
Supposedly he tweeted about it last night. No one took him serious. I think he said that he was going to bring a gun to school, and I think everyone just kind of blew it off like he was joking.
Minutes before firing his gun into a crowded cafeteria, he sent family members a text message.
The latest crime involves Apex High, where a student is accused of tweeting a threat to shoot up the school.
Thank you for taking that moment to watch the video. As you saw inside the video, we saw just a lot of tragic situations. We saw situations of not only tragedy, but we also saw different news clips just showing just the devastation that happens across the nation. We're looking at real life news clips inside of that video. But what I want to lead with just throughout the rest of this presentation is that in the midst of the hopelessness that could be evoked inside of the video, or just some of the tragedy, the hope that also was inside of it. There is a moment inside of this video where we see the empowerment. We see this idea of that if there is a chance of a plan, there's a possibility for prevention. And this is one of those realities as we move on with the presentation, is that people find themselves just throughout the nation as we look at all of the different situations that have happened historically, where they say stuff like, she's been all over Twitter threatening revenge, but they didn't say anything. I knew this would happen, but they didn't say something. I saw his plans, but I didn't believe he would ever do this, but they didn't say anything. He told me he was going to do it, but they didn't say anything. So I want to take about 2 minutes, and if you could, teachers, if you could help out in this moment. But I want to ask this question: why didn't they say something? So I want to just give 2 minutes for maybe about 2 or 3 hands in the session for everyone watching to ask that question. So if we can get 2 or 3 volunteers to answer this question: why didn't they say something? Or what are those things that stop us from saying something? Thank you for taking that time. And I am sure, as I said, I get the opportunity to travel just across the nation on a weekly basis. And I'm sure that some of those answers are similar to what I've heard week after week, which the things that stick out is just fear, not wanting to be a tattletale or snitch or a rat. There are situations where people feel like, hey, I don't think that they would do something like that. There's been answers where people have said situations like they don't want to be retaliated back at them. And all types of other answers that are legitimate answers. And whatever you came up with, I'm sure it's legitimate. I believe that it is realistic. And I like to lead with that just because the reality is that is that elephant in the room. But as we look at today's presentation, the goal is to learn how to be able to say something, because we want to teach you how to protect yourself, classmates, and also the community to help prevent suicide, threats, and prevent violence. So, as I said at the beginning, there are 3 important steps of being this lifeguard on duty. First one, look for warning signs, signals, and threats. Act immediately, take it seriously, and say something. This is the reality. Schools are safe. When I got here today, I had to check in, had to show my ID. I was escorted to where I would present. So the reality is that there is a lot of money, there is a lot of resources, there's a lot of care put into making sure that schools are safe. However, that does not mean that it is immune to violence, suicide, or threats. I like to look at it like an insurance policy. This is the reality for those of you who drive or plan to drive. No one goes inside of talks to the car salesman and says, hey, I want to buy a car, but I'm sure I'm going to crash it this week. No one goes with that reality, but we get insurance just in case something wrong happens or bad happens, we're covered. Same thing with a cell phone. So I am an iPhone user. So if you have an iPhone or unfortunately an Android, joke, there are those moments where you go in, no one says, hey, I'm going to buy this phone, I'm just going to throw it, or I know that I'm going to drop it or crack my screen. But we buy the big, ugly cell phone cases, we get the screen protectors, we get insurance on our phones, just in case something happens to that phone, we are secure, we're safe. So I would suggest the same thing, is that just in case something happens or something goes wrong or there's a student that's in need, that you are our insurance plan. So I just want to review. I started to say you are recruiting lifeguards on duty. And then the second point is the insurance plan needed. Because one of the realities that we're looking at is that 1 in 3 students have reported being sad or hopeless for 2 or more weeks in the last 12 months. 1 million students were harassed, threatened, or subject to other forms of cyberbullying. 1 million students did not go to school for 1 or more days in the last 30 days because they felt unsafe at or on their way to and from school. So there are steps that you can take to protect yourself, classmate, and community. And there is good news. The good news that we saw inside the video and that we'll continue to talk about is that individuals often show warning signs and show information before they are violent, attempt suicide, or make threats. We've seen in 3 different studies that 37% of threats of violence were sent electronically. 28% use social media. Research shows that most mass shootings are planned for 6 or more months. In nearly every case, warning signs were given. And looking at suicide, the CDC reports that suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death amongst teenagers. But 70% of people who complete suicide tell someone their plans or give some other type of warning sign. So, our insurance plan, if we teach you how to look for warning signs, signals, and threats, if we empower you to act immediately and take it seriously, and then we remind you to say something, this is what the goal is, that we can get better at reducing violence, threats, and tragic consequences, and really work towards creating safer, healthier schools and communities. So as we jump into this, just want to unfold this a little bit more. Step one, look for warning signs, signals, and threats. What is a warning sign? Thoughts, feelings, behaviors that indicate significant change and that an individual may be in need of help. Some examples of that. If you see in front of you, some of those examples: withdrawal from others, negative role models, excessive anger, impulsive intimidating, extreme mood changes, significant personality changes, excessive feelings of isolation or rejection, thoughts or plans of harming themselves or others. Warning signs. But then jumping into warning signals. Warning signals is gestures or actions that transmit information which can either be overt, which means it's in your face, or vague in nature, not necessarily as clear. Some examples of warning signals: giveaway possession, fascination with suicide, writings and drawings of death, fascination with weapons and school shootings, bragging about access to guns or an upcoming attack. Warning signals, gestures, actions. And then finally, a threat. A threat is any communication directly or through a third party which has the intent to harm themselves or others. Examples of threats: somebody should do that here. Someone should blow this place up. Someone saying life isn't worth living. Someone posting on Snapchat, "I'm going to take her and her friends out. You'd be better off without me. They will regret they ever met me." Warning signs, signals, and threats. Where are they found? Social media is the primary source of signs, signals, and threats. And that goes back to this point of why we need you so much. It's because, unfortunately, you are on social media sometimes more than probably should be. So that you see things, you hear things before others don't. Social media is that primary place where we see the signs, signals, and threats, but followed by hallways, lunchrooms, classrooms, sports events. Anywhere where students are, it's the possibility where you can see a sign, a signal, or a threat. Forms that they're found: spoken, verbal. You can see it in videos. You can see it in gestures, actions, and behaviors. And then I really want to pay attention to just some of these examples. So these are clips or pieces that were found on social media. I want to point out two particularly. So this first one, Valencia High School has been nominated to be shot up first. That stood out to me because right here in the state of Pennsylvania, within a couple of weeks ago, there was a situation where a student, a 14-year-old student, posted something on Snapchat that pretty much talked about access to guns and wanting to do something to the school. Because a student saw this on Snapchat, they were able to go to the app that we'll talk about in a minute, and they were able to report, and the police immediately was able to step in and to assess the situation and was able to help out. The other post, it's a little bit longer, so I'm going to just try and read it really fast. But I'm sorry to those who I offended over the years. I'm blind to see that I, as a human being, suck. I'm an individual who's doing an injustice to the world, and it's time for me to leave. Please don't ever feel sorry for me or cry, because I had an opportunity at life, and that opportunity is over. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to love someone or have someone love me. I guess it's best, though, because now I leave no pain onto anyone. The kids in school are right. I am a loser, a freak, and a fag, and in no way is that acceptable for people to deal with. I'm sorry for not being a person that would make someone proud. So I read that one because I had a friend. He was a little bit younger than me and really cool guy, played on the football team, was really popular. Not popular in an elitist sense, but he was popular because he talked to any and everyone. And he started to post certain things on Facebook. At this point, I was a year older, so I had moved on with life. But I saw the post. Inside the post, they were really depressing. They were really kind of dark moments, really sad moments. But as he continued to post, I wanted to reach out, but I kind of just was caught up in my own world, caught up in my own life. Fast forward in the story, I found out that he had came out in regards to his sexuality. From there, stuff kind of changed. People started to say some mean and nasty stuff. And we grow up with that mentality that sticks and stones and break my bones or words will never hurt. But the reality is that words are powerful. Words have caused some really hurtful things to happen. Historically, words have even caused wars. And those words took an effect, and people started to just say stuff. And I don't think they really meant to hurt him. I think it was just people just playing around. Parents switched up a little bit as well. Fast forward, he continued to post. And as I said, I wanted to say something. I wanted to give some type of encouragement, check in, but I didn't. Until one day I found out that my friend, that my brother, he had jumped in front of a train taking his life. For me, that was a very devastating moment because the signs were right in front of me. They were right in my face. But because I was not equipped with the knowledge that we're talking about today, because I did not act immediately, I have to say that I lost someone that I really cared, loved, and wish that I could have been that voice to really step in and be that agent of change in his life. Not only are we talking about violence and suicide, but you can also help with all types of other problems. Bullying or being bullied, abusing or being abused, whether that's physically or verbally, substance abuse or addiction problems, may have an eating disorder or a sexual predator or being preyed on. So once again, look for warning signs, signals, and threats. But then the second piece is we want to empower you to act immediately and take it seriously. When should you act? Immediately, when you see, read, or hear something. When you see the signs, signals, and threats. Act immediately and seek help. What delays acting immediately? This is some of the stuff that we talked about earlier, but I thought someone else would tell someone. They're too young to hurt themselves or others. I would say something if it was a big enough deal. I'm waiting for the right moment to say something. If he was going to do something, why would he announce it publicly? Act immediately, take it seriously. There's no entry age. Let the experts assess the sign, signal, or threat. And this idea of being an upstander and not a bystander. One of the things that I'm sure was discussed earlier is this idea of being labeled a traitor or a rat or risk being alienated or physically hurt. Telling on someone versus saying something. Telling on someone. So I have an older sister and a little brother. I'm the middle child. And so there was a lot of moments where I would try to, literally my sister always tried to get me in trouble. She would always say certain stuff to my mom to try and just get me in trouble. Telling on someone, tattletelling, that is this moment of trying to say something in order to get someone in trouble or for your own personal gain. What we're saying with Say Something today is getting someone help for their own safety and well-being and to protect yourself and others from harm. It's because you literally want to help them. Now, I can't make this presentation, I can't make this idea of saying something and not wanting to be a traitor or a snitch or whatever term you thought of. I can't make this attractive, I can't make this sound really cool, but I will be able to say this to you. I asked 2 questions. And if you could just simply just raise your hand. The first one a little cornier than the other, but if you could literally be a superhero, superpowers and all, would you take that opportunity? The second question, and I really want you to think about this. If you had the opportunity to save someone's life, would you take it? I'm sure, as I've seen this across the nation, that most of you said, yes, if I could save someone's life, I would. When I say something, This is bigger than our fears. This is bigger than our insecurities. This is bigger than wanting to be the rat or the traitor. This is bigger than someone might not talk to me or be my friend anymore. What I'm talking to you today is that this is life or death. When you act, you could save someone's life or the lives of others. When you do not act, which is typically out of fear, you risk losing a friend or a classmate. Individuals want to be helped. It's the reality. They may not understand that they need it or don't know how to get it, but they want help. So it's really important to keep that in the forefront of your mind of acting immediately, taking it serious. And then finally, say something. 3 ways to say something. The first one, always call 911 if it is an emergency. That is our go-to live in action 911. The second piece is to say something to a trusted adult. And I know I'm here to ultimately to push the anonymous reporting system, but this is still important. It's this idea of making sure that you can identify a trusted adult. Why is this important? Because they have the knowledge, they have the means, they have the expertise, they have the bandwidth. Our trusted adults are mandated reporters. They are able to get the help for an individual needed. For all of you sports fans out there, it's this same idea of the teamwork that it takes. If you watch basketball, for example, LeBron, go Lakers, LeBron can literally play the game by himself. He can take the ball across the court, he can score. But that's just not how the game works. It's the goal of being able to work with each other to pass the ball to the right people, to the appropriate people, because we're all working together with the goal to score. Same thing with soccer in terms of making the goal. Same thing in football. If the quarterback throws the ball to the receiver, the goal is to be able to accomplish a touchdown. What is a touchdown? What is a score? What is making the basket? That is saving someone's life. And it's the goal of working together. So I'm passing the ball to a trusted adult because they have the experience to be able to accomplish and to be able to score. Examples: guidance counselors, religious leaders, principals, school support staff, might be a coach, instructor, mentor, parent, teacher, might be the drama teacher or TV studio teacher here, it might be the person working in the cafeteria, it might be the amazing person I met in the school office today. Whoever it is that you can go to, it's really important as you look at the diagram in front of you to be able to put yourself in the middle of all of these amazing adults and to pick at least one person that you know that in this game of being able to score, that you can pass the ball to in order to make an impact in someone's life. How to have this conversation before talking to the adult: just gather whatever information is needed, whether that is something that you saw on social media, you screenshot or take pictures of whatever it is that you see, but gather the information to make sure that you can go to your trusted adult. Simple 3 little system. I must talk to you about Mr. Rainey. I saw that he was posting some really sad stuff on Instagram. I need your help because I'm really concerned and I want to make sure that we can look into this. Simple ways to have the conversation. You can even add in there, I took a screenshot of the conversation. Now, what if you can't tell a trusted adult and you want to remain anonymous? I'm sure that's what some people are thinking. I don't want people to know who I am. Well, that is the introduction of the Safe2Say something anonymous reporting system. So we had police, we had talk to a trusted adult, and now we have the anonymous reporting system. How does it work? Really simple. You report a tip. From there, the ball is passed to a crisis center. who asks a couple of more questions and further investigate to understand what's going on, what's happening in the situation. And then within seconds, the right people will be notified. So we see this idea of us all working together to accomplish a task. 3 ways to do it. You have the mobile app, you have the hotline, which is 1-844-SAF2Say, and then our website, Safe2Say.org. Second is tips are sent to this crisis center. So as I said a second ago, they just want to ensure that they just have enough information. They may ask questions, so there is a 2-way anonymous dialogue that happens. It continues to stay anonymous, but this conversation is just to find out information needed to be able to accomplish the task. And then they forward the tip to the school officials, and 911 is needed. And then from there, the school official, the 911, they assess, intervene, and they take action. They are also responsible for reporting outcomes and to ensure accountability and follow-up. All those things are found where you can be able to go back and see what's happening inside of the system. How do you use the app? It's really simple. It's like downloading Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I'm joking. I know you don't use Facebook anymore because there's old people on it. But you go to the App Store, Google Play, if you are an Android user, or the App Store, the Apple App Store, if you're iPhone, and you'll search for Safe2Say something. You'll see the pink kind of peace sign as the icon there, and you download it. From there, it's important for you to create a 4-digit passcode. Nothing that's foreign to you, same thing as when you go on to any social media account, you put in a passcode. But please remember this passcode. It's something really important, 4 digits, easy. And then you must enter a school. Now the question might come up, why do I have to enter a school if this is anonymous? It's really important that if you're in the beautiful city of Pittsburgh, for example, that someone in Philly does not get the tip and they are hours away from you to be able to help. We want to make sure that you enter a school so that literally the team that's assigned to your district is able to step in fast and be able to make sure that the outcome is successful. So that's why it's really important to put in a school. And then from there, everything else is simple. You select your concern. What is your concern? Whether it is bullying or substance abuse, suicide threats, whatever that is. From there, you'll type in inside of the box, whatever that situation is, as much detail as possible. And then person involved. If you know literally who the person is, you type in that information, as much stuff as possible, including attachments. Let's say it's some screenshots. Let's say it is other situations that you see. You can download that right in the attachment section of the app. Once you submit, you'll receive a thank you. And then from there, you'll have the opportunity to be able to follow up on a tip. So 2 methods to check status. You can view via the app. You can review, update existing tip. Or then you can go to the website and you'll just put in your tip ID number. So you'll always get a tip ID number attached to every tip. So on the screen in front of you, you'll see on the app, it's literally the review, update, existing tip. And then from there, you'll be able to check and see what that looks like. Anonymous reporting dialogue with this 2-way anonymous dialogue. So for example, what you see in front of you, could you tell me where Annie is now? I would like to help you. You might reply, yes, she's outside in the quad waiting for her class to start. So it's just more information needed to be able to make sure that we can be successful. How to submit on a website. So we went through the app. The website is a piece of cake, just like the app is. You go to the website, and then from there, there'll be a moment to press, select, submit a tip. From there, you'll complete the information the same way, fill it out as detailed as possible, and then you will get a tip ID number back and a password. This will be your way to go back and follow up on a tip by entering this ID and password. And then from there, you also have the option to call in. You'll call the number, and there'll be a live in person. This isn't a automated sense. This is literally someone in our crisis center who'll talk you through the information. They want to know what's happening. They want to ask more questions and really get a visual of the situation so that they can get the help. They might ask you questions about description of the location and whatever details. And then from there, you can log in or call back to provide new information. Let's say something new developed. You can always go back on all three platforms and say something else was posted or I found this out. You can always update the information. So once again, just want to review those 3 steps. The mobile app, the number, the website. You can submit secure and anonymous concerns 24/7, 365 days a year. This is available to you to use. I do have to make this disclaimer. You've been given the right of anonymity. If you abuse that right, you may lose that right and could face prosecution. And that's just really to say this is really important. Already, in the state of Pennsylvania and other states across this nation that are using, whether it's Safe2Say something app or our Say Something app, students are using this and lives are being changed, lives are being impacted, people are getting help that they need. So this is something really important. It's not a joke, it's not something to play with. It's something that is empowering us to make sure that we can be that lifeguard on duty. Let's review those steps one more time. Look for warning signs, signals, and threats. Act immediately, take it seriously. Say something to help create a safer, healthier school. In conclusion, why say something? I said it already. You are the eyes and ears of the school. You see stuff, you hear stuff before anyone else will. You can produce violence, suicide, and threats. And then proof that Say Something works. Being able to say, I made a difference for someone else. Being able to say, I got help from my friend being physically abused. Being able to say something that I wish I could have said in my friend's life is that I saved my friend's life. Or this last one, that I averted a school shooting. There was a young lady, she was a sophomore, and she sat in a presentation in an auditorium full of many other students. And she sat there listening, and little did I know as I stood on the stage talking to them and empowering them about saying something, and little did I know that about a month and a half later, there would be a situation where she would be empowered. Just a regular day for her. She saw that a fellow classmate had brought what appeared to be a weapon to school. Wasn't sure at first, wasn't necessarily as clear, but made sure that as saw, they went to report it and say something to their trusted adult. The trusted adult was able to step in and pass the ball to school police. School police were able to intervene in the situation. And in intervening the situation, school police was able to jump in and make sure to assess the situation. Unfortunately, the student was right. It was a weapon. It was a real-life gun that was brought to school that day. Campus police was able to assess the situation and get help. Now, I don't know all the details in regards to what the plan of attack was, but what I do know based on my own experience, and I can go on and on, but I don't have the time to, that bullets have no names. I've seen situations just tragically just over the years. That student did not get a whole big award ceremony. There was no big pomp and circumstance around it. But I would say, with everything within me, that sophomore was a superhero. Because she saw it, because she acted immediately and she took it seriously, because she said something. You didn't hear about it on Facebook, on Instagram. It wasn't on the news. It wasn't a big national situation. It wasn't another school on the already too long list. Because she said something, the situation was averted and there was help that was needed. It was help that was literally took place. So you've heard me talk for a while now. And I literally want to just end this moment with you just joining forces. I've been begging, I've been pleading, I've been trying to encourage and to inspire you to be this lifeguard on duty. At this time, I make that invitation to you. If you're willing, wherever you are watching this, if you could literally, no pressure, but put up this 2 sign. And I want you just to repeat after me. And I want you to really take seriously what I'm about to say. Repeat after me. Say, I take the pledge, and I promise to look for warning signs, signals, and threats, to act immediately and take it seriously, to say something, to help create a safer, healthier school and community, to be the lifeguard on duty. Last time, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? I take this pledge. Once again, thank you for just going on this journey with me. I leave you empowered to be the superheroes, to be the lifeguard on duty, to be the insurance plan, to be the agent of change that we need right now. Thank you so much. So excited right now. We have a lot of questions, so we're going to try to get through as many as possible in this next couple of minutes that we have. Thank you to each and every one of you that submitted a question, and I will try to answer to the best of my ability in this moment. So we can go with the first question. So the first question is the app for submitting things only about school or home as well? So to answer that question is that it is anything that happens in the community. So whether that is something that happens at school, whether that's something that happened at home, just at the mall, anywhere, that's a big part of local law enforcement being involved in this process. And so you can use the app just wherever. And even if they go to the student goes to another school, there's also something set up for that as well. So use the app as much as possible, or when you see it or in need of it. Next question. So the second question, if it is truly anonymous, how will a student be prosecuted? Okay, so let's talk about that really quick. So it is a completely anonymous situation. However, there are two moments that anonymity can be broken. So the first situation is if there is a first person type of situation. So if the person who is posting or submitting a tip says something that is putting themselves in danger or someone else in danger, that is a moment to break anonymity, because we want to make sure that we get you help as fast as possible. The other moment is through a court order. So let's say if there's a hoax or just someone that is breaking the situation, there is prosecution happens by way of them breaking anonymity by getting a court order to find out who that student is. But those are the only two times that anonymity is broken. Outside of that, there is no other time. So the principal, although they might have ears and eyes in the front and behind, everywhere, knows everything, they won't know who is submitting a tip unless you are doing something that is illegal, which is breaking the purpose of the app. Next question. In what ways are they preventing false accusations? Literally what I just said a second ago in regards to, if it's a serious thing, we are seeing, I think at this point, last report I saw was about 1,400 just life safety tips that have come in just Pennsylvania. That's not going into Florida and Houston and Atlanta, et cetera, statistics. So we're looking at this is really a serious situation. So we are saying if you do false claims just playing around, then we are taking it serious. In regards to false claims, just, hey, I made a mistake, or I thought that this was something and it really wasn't that, then, if there's no proof, or if it ends up not being something substantial, then nothing happens to anyone. At the end of the day, it's about the courage. It's about just being empowered that you said something, because just in case. It goes back to the story I told earlier about the 10th grader. She thought it was a gun. It ended up really being a gun. But if she would have just said, oh no, it's not that, then who knows, what could have happened. Next question. How do you report a tip for a different school district? So it's the same way. You just literally, you put the name, you put what school that the person goes to. So just when you are filling out the information on the app, which hopefully everyone is downloading this app today. But as you see inside the app, you just type in the information, you tell us where the school is. The district teams, they know literally how to send the information to another district to be able to get help. So no one is out of our reach to make sure that help is being given. Next question. This is fun. So our next question, how quickly will someone respond back to you upon submission of a tip? So it's the process of, like, literally, as soon as you submit a tip, it will immediately go to our crisis center. Our crisis center is working with the Attorney General's office, and they are working 24 hours of a day. So there's always someone that is receiving the tips. So once they receive it, they're going to immediately process it and hit you back. So it's a very quick turnaround. I actually had in training, played around with the app a lot, and they were responding within minutes. So it's a very quick process. And then once Crisis Center has it, then they immediately, once they process it, they will triage it and categorize it. So life safety or non-life safety. And what will happen is they will immediately, Crisis Center then passes the ball or sends the tip to a district team, which is of administrators and just loving adults, because they're on call 24 hours a day as well. So that is just how quick everything can move and what the process looks like. Next question. What can we do to attack the stigma of speaking up? I think it's just those reminders of just how important it is to do it. I just always just look at those stories. For example, like with my friend who committed suicide, I actually lost 3 people in my life to suicide. And in each one of those situations, there was an opportunity for someone to really say something. And I mean, we dropped the ball, to be honest, about the situation. So I think it's just really empowering each other that it's okay, that it's not lame, it's not a traitor, it's not, you don't have to be in fear, because at the end of the day, we're trying to raise up a generation that is willing to be a superhero, willing to really make impact and be able to be bold enough to say, I'll say something, I'll stand up, I'll be an upstander. No more bullying, no more mean and nasty stuff that's happening, that we're fighting against all of that stuff. Not here, not on this campus. So that's kind of what, it just has to continue. We have to continue to push this idea just across. Students have to continue to encourage students, faculty, staff, continue to encourage students as well. Like, it just has to continue to let this message, this can't just be a one and done conversation. We have to continue just to keep these conversations happening, because the state of our nation right now is just a lot of just different stuff happening. And we want to make sure that not another kid loses their life or takes their own life or takes someone else's life. So it's a standing up. Enough is enough. Next question. How did you become affiliated with this organization, and why did they choose you to speak? I don't know. I said the same thing. Why me? I'm joking. Well, this is really serious. I am honored. It is a privilege just to be able to do this work. I got involved in this organization when I was in LA. So I have an arts nonprofit in LA, and I was doing a TED Talk at the time about just the need for more outlets, for the need for just more opportunities for students to be able to have a voice. And from there, I found out about Sandy Hook Promise and just the message that they were pushing. And when I thought about just my own life and from the different suicides, and then even the moments for me where I had those moments where I was screaming for help and felt like I needed something, I said, this is just a perfect organization to be a part of, the perfect organization just to join forces with, because the message isn't about adults coming to the rescue. It's really about students standing up and being empowered and being those upstanders. So I said, oh yeah, of course, I need to join forces. And then so I was just doing it in LA for a while, just still doing the whole entertainment thing. And then Sandy Hook Promise said, hey, we need you to take off for some time and just go across the nation. And then so for the last 7 months, I've been in a different state or city every week, just pushing this message, talking to amazing students like you, reminding them of the voice that they have and the power of the voice that you have as well. Next question. Could bringing some of the more personal issues to light make the situation worse? I don't think so. I think in bringing stuff to the light, it literally does that. It brings light to what could be a dark situation. We grew up with this idea of, especially like my parents' generation, of what goes on in my house stays in my house. But I always like to ask the question of what happens when what happens in your house starts to stink so bad that you start to smell it all throughout the community. So we can't live in this moment of just living in the dark and just, Paul Laurence Dunbar has a poem, "We wear the mask that grins and lies." And we have all these so many moments of just hiding stuff or covering stuff or wearing masks. And we have to start to continue to light our candles, shine our flashlights to be able to bring light to situations in order to get help that's needed. Too many people go uncovered. They end up doing crazy situations, or they end up taking their own lives because it's silence and it's hush and it's kept in the dark. So to answer that question, I don't think so. I think bringing it up, being a light, speaking up about stuff, we'll be able to continue to see. And I say continue because I'm already seeing it just these last couple of months of lives being transformed and changed because students are stepping up and doing something about it. Next question. After submitting a tip, will you find out the outcome? Example, an adult got in contact with a student of concern, etc. So, yes and no. I'm going to be completely transparent about the situation. So, yes, you will find out about the outcome. So you will know that the tip was closed out, which means that the crisis center got it to the police if it's life safety, and to a group of administrators and trusted adults. But then also, you will, just so you know, the no part of that is you won't necessarily know exactly what happened. So just for the safety of everyone, no one will say, hey, these exact actions were taking place. All you'll know is that something was handled. But I will say this, that the adults are being held accountable for what it is that is reported. They have to close out. They have to tell the system what steps that they took to make sure that they did everything in their power to assess the situation. So there is accountability that is happening where no tip is just left unread and just overlooked or passed over. Everyone involved is accountable for what is submitted. And now it's in writing, and everyone is seeing the same stuff to make sure that that can happen. Next question. Can you please review the 3 ways to communicate a threat? So I took this question in 2 different ways. So 3 ways to communicate a threat. We said it was to call 911. Also, it was the process of saying something to a trusted adult. And then finally, it was to use our anonymous reporting system. And then, so once again, 911, say something to a trusted adult, report our anonymous reporting system. And then from there, we will look at what the anonymous reporting system is. You have 3 different ways to do that. You can use the app. The app has been the most popular way so far. But you can use the app, you can call in, or you can go literally to the website and get help or to submit a tip right then and there. And I believe that's all we have for questions. If there are any more questions, you can check back in. There may be some follow-up ways or opportunities. Continue to send questions in, continue to ask, continue to, just make sure. At this time, I'm going to pass the mic back. I want to thank all of you just for having me today. And this has been truly an amazing experience. So thank you. And I'm going to pass the mic. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And again, thank you, Mr. Rainey, for joining us here at North Allegheny at both our intermediate and at our senior high school. We appreciate the passion and the commitment you have to the Sandy Hook Promise, and also for your commitment to creating safe environments for all students. Just to outline some of the important things that I think Mr. Rainey covered, he highlighted some of our important steps that we cover here at North Allegheny, and that is the first, if ever you have an event of an emergency, life-threatening incident, that you call 911 and get first responders out to the scene as soon as possible. He also talked about talking to a trusted adult was a major theme of his conversation this morning. To be able to report issues to school personnel, to individuals at home, anyone who you trust, who you feel will act responsibly on your behalf to report any types of unsafe environments here in our school buildings. And also using our tip line, 724-933-TIPS is also another method. And then sharing the app and website and also hotline that is made available through the Safe2Say program, which will also promote another avenue for students to report any type of concerning issues. And also asked you to take the pledge. And I agree wholeheartedly with his pledge, and that is have that courage to say something. In the event that you feel that anyone is making unpopular decisions, unsafe behaviors that they're exhibiting, or any type of information you have that could be valuable that will help create a more safer learning environment for all of our students and staff members here in the North Allegheny School District. Take that courage, step up, say something, and quite often you will change the life and have a huge impact on another individual or large group of people. At this time, this concludes our presentation. We will ask that upon the teacher's direction that students may take a 5-minute break to go use the restroom and to also stretch their legs and move out of the classroom. So at the teacher's direction, please ask your students to take a 5-minute break. Then all students should return back to their second period class, where we will continue with regular instructional activities, and we will follow a 2-hour delay schedule from this point forward. Thank you once again. Have a great day, NAI and NASH.